Hey guys, welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to change the power steering fluid on a car. Right, so this is the car we're going to do the power steering fluid change on. Had the car for about 2 years now and I haven't changed the power steering fluid in the time I've had it, but judging by the colour of this fluid it hasn't been changed for a while. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is identify the power steering fluid reservoir. Now that can be identified just by the label on top of the reservoir, and if you just want to confirm that, you'll have a hose that runs to the power steering pump. Now just looking at the hose or lines running into our power steering reservoir, we've got two lines that are running into it. We've got a line that runs down to our power steering pump. From here the fluid is pressurized, runs through this pressure line, and that runs down to the power steering rack. Don't know how well you can see it, but it's just that one there. That's just the return line, and that runs back into the reservoir here. So what we'll be doing is we'll be tapping into this return line to flush our power steering system. In the beginning of the video I've jacked this car up and put it onto axle stands here. Now the reason I've done that is you'll see later in the video we'll be flushing the system, and to do that we'll be turning the steering wheel from hard left to hard right to flush the power steering fluid out of the system. Right, let's get some tools and equipment together. Now we'll take a look and see what equipment we're going to need for this job. Over here I've got some automatic transmission fluid. Now this can also be used in a power steering system, but if you're not sure on the type of fluid your system takes, just consult your user manual. Over here we've got an old drink bottle. This is what we'll be using to drain our old fluid into. I've got some power steering hose over here. Now this will be used to drain the reservoir. Now you don't have to use power steering hose, you can just use PVC piping. I've got a oil suction pump here, and I've made up two little bungs here. Now you'll see what we're going to be using these for when we drain the fluid, but I've got two different sizes here. Not sure what size we'll be using yet, but we'll find out once we change that fluid over. Okay, well let's get started. So our first job is we want to tap into this return line here, and what we need to do first is we'll reduce this old fluid level. We'll just have it so it's just above the line that runs to our power steering pump. You don't want to reduce the level down too far, we don't want to get air in the system. So if we just reduce it to about this level here, that means it's just above the line that runs to the pump and it's below our return line. Now we want it below the return line. What we're going to do is just block this off on the reservoir, and then we'll tap into this hose. Now we're just going to take our oil suction pump and we're just going to suck out enough of this old fluid just so it's above the line that runs to the power steering pump. Okay, now that we've emptied the fluid below the return line there, what we're going to do is just find a suitable place for this waste bottle. Just pop that there, and then we're going to tap into this return line. So I'm just going to remove this hose clamp here. Pop that there, and then we'll just pull this off. Okay, and we're just going to plug this end here on the reservoir. Just pop that over. Right, we're just going to take our hose here. I've got a joiner on this end. This part here will tap into the return line on the power steering, and then we can start the flushing process. Now we're just going to pop that into the power steering return hose. Now that's a little bit loose. I'm going to just build this joiner up just with a little bit of insulation tape, and hopefully that'll just give us a good seal. What I don't want is just oil or fluid going all over the garage floor, so we'll just try this. And that seems to be a better fit. Now the next step is just taking a funnel, just place it in the top of the reservoir there, and we're just going to fill this reservoir up with new oil. Now you don't have to be too fussy on how full you fill this reservoir just at this stage. All we're doing is we're topping it up and we're going to flush this fluid out again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flush it out down to the same level we had it about last time, just so it's above the line that runs to our power steering pump here. Now we'll just go to the interior of the car, and what we need to do in here is we're just turning the steering wheel hard left to hard right, and we're just wanting to do that to flush the power steering fluid out of the system. Now what you're wanting to do is just turn the wheel from hard lock left and right until you see the new fluid starting to come through. And as you can see here, it's just the clean fluid coming through the return line now. Now we're just going to reattach the return line to the reservoir here, so just going to unplug our hose, just move this bottle out the way, and then we'll just take off our bung here and just reattach this hose. Now we're just going to roughly top this up here. The car's on axle stands, so I won't do a final top up just until the car's off the axle stands and on a flat surface. Now the last step while the car's still up on axle stands is just to start the car and just check for any unusual noises from the power steering system. Now we're just going to turn the wheel from one side to the other. Now when I'm turning the steering wheel from left to right, I can't hear any unusual sounds coming from the power steering system. So that's a good indication that there's no air in the system. Now if you do hear unusual sounds coming from the system, like a whining sound, it's possible that you've got air in the system. So to rectify that, just leave the cap off your power steering system reservoir and then just jump into the car. So what you want to do once the car's started is turn the steering wheel slowly from lock to lock, and that'll bleed any air out of the power steering system. And just keep doing that until the noise goes away. Now the final step is just topping up this power power steering fluid. It's not too bad considering we filled it up while the car was on an angle. Just a little bit under this max line, so I'm just going to top a little bit more back into it, and then that'll be a job done. Okay guys, we've successfully flushed and changed the power steering fluid on this car. Hopefully you've taken away enough information to be able to do the same on your car. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.